It is Sunday night at 9 o'clock, which means it is time for the Vol Bros. Welcome. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And man, oh man, it has been a busy weekend for the Big Orange. A lot of action in four major sports. Softball had 6 games this weekend. I went 4-2 on the weekend. The Lady Vols basketball team lost a game to LSU today. The baseball team swept Albany this weekend, and rightfully so because Albany's logo is horrible. That was annoying me all weekend long. And their jerseys, who does that? Like, it wasn't like U of Albany or like the U was higher than Albany. It was just U Albany. It's like, come on, man. Under Armour, what are you doing on their jerseys? But baseball team played incredibly well all weekend long. Right now, though, it's time to talk about what the basketball team did to Texas A&M. Holy cow. They just opened up all kinds of revenge on them. So, Rustin, what was your immediate takeaways from what you saw yesterday with the basketball team?
I thought Zakai was just incredible. I don't know that a point guard can play better than he did yesterday. I love that they have figured out how to get Tobey involved. Tobey thrives in the two-post offense. He really, I mean, honestly, they don't have anybody that can handle him when Jonas is out there too. And it's almost like he develops confidence in that so that when he is out there by himself, he's a lot more offensive minded. So I think they've done a fantastic job of figuring out how to get him involved. Just an incredible performance. Dropped 49 in the second half against a Buzz Williams team. And I think probably the biggest thing stood out to me, kudos to Rick Barnes. In the past, if he had played a Buzz Williams team, Buzz's teams are all, I mean, he's done the same thing forever. It's going to be lots of ball pressure, lots of trapping, a lot of one-on-one basketball and offense, very physical. And in the past, Rick Barnes would have probably told his teams, we're in for a rock fight. We're gonna be just as physical as them. It's gonna come down to the last possession. We're gonna take care of the ball. We're gonna be safe. And that's not who Rick Barnes is anymore. He has completely unleashed them. And the reason we blew Texas A&M away was we didn't play Rick Barnes' typical basketball. We flew up and down the floor and turned it into a track meet, and A&M couldn't hang. I mean, that's really what it came down to. They couldn't stay with us. It started with about 3 minutes left in the first half when we started extending that lead, and then to outscore them by 25 in the second half, just incredible. I mean, Buzz Williams is a very good defensive coach. You outscore one of his teams by 25 in the second half, you have destroyed them. And that was not vintage Rick Barnes. He has adapted to the new era of basketball, and it's been fun to watch that a man that could get his 800th win does it in a way that his first 700 didn't happen. Like, he has completely changed his philosophy, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that is by far and away the most important thing that came out of yesterday was Rick Barnes' 800th career win. He and John Calipari are the only two active Division I coaches in the men's game that have 800 wins. And so huge congratulations to Rick Barnes, only the 15th coach in Division I history to achieve that. I think it was really cool, the video that Tennessee basketball put together for him, having all the different coaches from around the league, very highly touted coaches, highly respected coaches. My favorite was Tom Izzo. He was hilarious. And he had the line at the end of it where he said, Rick, I think you got a team that can win it all this year. And they can. And I think what we saw yesterday was another example of what we've been saying for weeks now. Rustin and I have been saying for weeks now that Dalton's going to get his points. He's going to do it, whether he's hitting outside shot or getting points in the lane or both. He's going to find ways to score. If you have Jonas also scoring, that is a huge benefit because now you have an inside and an outside threat. But then all you got to have is one other guy, and you have 4 to choose from: Santi, Josiah, Zakai, or Jordan Gainey. If any of them score, and now apparently Tobe. So if any of those 5 score double digits, it's really, really hard to beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
It'll be really hard for any team to beat them. And kudos to Nathaniel Rutherford, who actually tweeted out that exact stat after the game last night. Tennessee is now 19-2 on the season when they have 3 people scoring double digits. I mean, that's the recipe for success. If you got 3 guys who are scoring, it's going to be tough to beat, especially if one of them's Jonas, because then you got an inside and an outside guy scoring, because you know one of them's going to be Dalton. So tremendous game, especially in the second half. Really about the last minute and a half, 3 minutes of the first half, and then the entire second. They scored 49 points in the second half. That's pretty daggum good half. So kudos to Rick Barnes on his 800th win. Absolutely just tremendous to watch. It was fun to watch that second half because they didn't let up. And they just, man, they you know what? Maybe the stat of the whole game: Zakai Ziegler, 14 assists, 0 turnovers.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Kudos to Zakai on that. Tremendous. Some of the folks chiming in here in the chat. Welcome right to Vape. He said Zakai ripped him apart. Absolutely. HT14, good to have you, buddy. He said, what's up, all bros? We're doing great, man. I'm glad you're here. Zach, what's up, man? He said, revenge game 1. Absolutely. Mino Likey, welcome. Good to have you. She said, good evening, bros. And the chat, absolutely. Braden, welcome, bud. Good to have you, man. He said, what's up, all bros? Good to have you, Braden. Zach said, the baseball team scored 8 runs, 21 runs, and 12 runs in 3 games, but they're definitely good. There's no doubt about that. The 12 runs was actually even in 6 innings because they didn't even hit in the 7th inning. So they scored 12 runs in 6 innings. HT14 said they had that one player who's draining threes in the beginning that worried me. So yeah, Taylor came out, hit 3 straight threes to start the game, and he was feeling it. And then he hardly did anything the rest of the whole game. So kudos to Tennessee's defense for shutting him down. Zach said, answer me this: did Buzz go out in the middle of the court? Not yesterday. I think Rick had a little bit high alert with the officials on, having them look out for that. Mina, like he said, did you hear Buzz in post game? Very complimentary. So he was really complimentary in his interview before the game, and then obviously in the post game as well. So I'm glad you said that. Volling Out Podcast, welcome, buddy. He said, great show, guys. Go Vols. So y'all can check out their podcast as well. Braden said Zakai and Tobe both played great. I totally agree. 100% agree. He said also Tobe got to be one of the most underrated players for sure at Tennessee, probably in college basketball in general. Certainly a tremendous rebounder. There's no doubt about that. And his offensive game has come leaps and bounds since the beginning of the season as well. Let's see. Zach said everyone has something to say until they get smacked in the face. Texas A&M got smacked on both sides. Absolutely. I totally agree with Braden. He said, I think Tobe and Adu on the court at the same time will play a big role in March. And I think that's what we're seeing happening, unfolding right before our eyes right now. Absolutely. Like you said, this team was total entertainment last night. She wants to bottle them up. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jared, welcome, Jared. Good to have you, buddy. He said Zakai is a floor general on offense and defense. Yes, he is. He is doing his job, isn't he? And that is a great thing to see. Braden said that's 2 out of 3 coaches to run on the court, field or court for Texas A&M this year. We'll see what their baseball coach does now. That's right. Jimbo did. He was about 8 or 9 feet out onto the field. And we had the players actually ran around him between him and the sideline during the football game. I've forgotten about that. I'm glad you said that. That's a good point. Rustin, you want to do player or play of the game first?
Whatever you want.
Let's do player because I think we may end up having the same person for player. So Y'all can let us know in the comments who your player of the game. We've already had a lot of love for Tobey and Zakai in the comments for player of the game. So y'all let us know who your player of the game was. Rustin, who was your player of the game?
So let me pull it back up here real quick. Anytime you go 35 minutes, 9 points, 9 rebounds, 14 assists, no turnovers, and 4 steals, I don't know that a point guard can do a better job than that. I mean, he was one rebound and 1 point away from a triple double with no turnovers. That's absurd. Like that just should not, in today's college basketball, and especially in a game like last night where the refs were just abysmal, and everybody forgot what a foul was for about 20 minutes out of that game. For him to not have a turnover with as much physicality as was happening out there, and as much as he got banged around, that's crazy impressive. And I think we may have witnessed one of the best point guard performances in Tennessee history last night. I don't know that you're going to see another game where a guy plays that well.
I think that is an excellent choice. And, it's hard not to pick Dalton because, what he hit, like 5 or 6 threes.
Mm-hmm.
Had a couple really nice dunks, bunch of rebounds. He played good on the defensive boards. But Zakai had the game of maybe the best game of his career at Tennessee last night. I know we could say the Kentucky game, he scored so many points, played really, really well. He had a couple games, in the previous years that were really, really good. But if you're the point guard, and I'll go back to what Jared said earlier, he's a floor general on offense and defense. If you're the point guard, you're supposed to run the show. That's your job. You're supposed to make the team, both offensively and defensively, be as efficient as possible. It does not get any more efficient than 14 assists and 0 turnovers. That is amazing. He hit a few big shots as well. He set the tone, man. Unlike that play where he stole the 2 different times he stole an inbounds pass in the second half when Tennessee's up by more than double digits. Just probably 20 or more. And he set the tone defensively in that way. And then on offense, your goal is to get a good look at the basket every time down the court. You cannot do that if you're turning the ball over. And that's what was so frustrating. Who was it they were playing against? And the turnovers were just horrible recently. I can't remember who it was. But we mentioned it on our show, like the turnovers were just awful. You can't get a good look at a good shot or a good look at the basket. I think it was Missouri. When
that was the Missouri game. They had 15.
Yeah, that's what it was. That totally. You can't take the ball out of your own hands. That's the point there. You got to have a good, clean look at the basket, and if you do that, that's a successful possession because you're playing Division I college basketball players. These are good dudes. They're athletic dudes that play good defense. And Zakai did not turn the ball over one single time. He allowed Tennessee to potentially get a good look at the basket every trip down the court, and he never took it out of our own hands. He never gave it to the other team. That is about as efficient as you could possibly be, like Rustin was saying earlier. So it is hard. Obviously, you got Tobey having an awesome game. You had Jonas having an awesome game. You had Dalton just tearing it up like always. But, man, Zakai was the heart and soul of that game last night. And it was fun to watch. It was really fun to watch. Sandris, welcome, Sandris. Good to have you. Sandris asked a really good question, so I'm gonna save that for after we talk about this game because that's a really good question. Braden said his player of the game could either go to Zakai or Tobey, but probably Zakai. Mino Laki said Zakai. It was her player of the game. Volling Out said Jonas double played grown man ball. Absolutely, he was a force to be reckoned with around the rim, and he had that touch back like we saw against Alabama at home. And he had beautiful touch around the rim last night. Zach said Adu was a beast, only getting better. Jared said Ziegler by far. I would agree with that. Braden said our depth this year is built for March Madness. I agree with that because you have a star in Dalton who can score at will, and you got tremendous defense, and you got deep bench. They have to be consistent in how they shoot the ball, though. That's going to be the main thing, and they have to start making free throws at a better clip than they have been. Let's see. Mino, like DK set up the basket for Adu, and the look on his face was priceless. Yep. Zach said, by the way, we're in first place now. You're exactly correct. We are in first place. We have 4 really difficult games ahead of us. So it's going to be, if they end up winning this championship, regular season championship, is going to be a heck of a run. I mean, it's going to be incredible. Tony said his play of the game. Oh, we'll come back to that because we're doing play right now. I'll come back to that one. Backflip Spaghetti. Hey, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. He said, howdy, another good game. I was thinking and praying for a and 1-3 at the buzzer the first half. It should have been. I agree. Santi got smacked right in the hand as he shot the ball, and no foul. And he didn't like it either. You could tell by the way he was talking to the ref as he was walking off the court. Should have been an and 1, but it wasn't, unfortunately. Absolutely.
It's hard to call a foul when you're watching the paint.
Yeah. Zach said the schedule is 4 chump teams. I wish that were the case. Unfortunately, it is not. Mm-hmm. Tennessee's upcoming schedule, they have Auburn Wednesday night at home. Auburn is playing incredibly well right now. Then they have Alabama at Alabama for the nightcap next Saturday. That will not be an easy game. Then they go to South Carolina the following Wednesday, and then they end the season with Kentucky at home. Kentucky is playing extremely well, and now they got that 7-foot dude back on the court too. And we know how Tennessee has fared against teams that have solid big men. This will be a major test for them against Kentucky in Thompson Bowling Arena, last game of the season. Zach said 4-0. Say it with me. And Backflips again. He said 4-0. Man, I hope so. If they go 2-2, I'll be honest with you. If they go 2-2, that's pretty good coming out of that 4-game stretch. Especially if they go 3-1, I think that'd be tremendous. If they go 4-0, give them a 1 seed in the tournament. I mean, like that would be unbelievable to go 4-0 in that stretch. So let's do play of the game. Braden said we really got that 2024 Florida schedule. Yeah, for the last 5 games. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a good point. Papa J, welcome, buddy. He said Santi and Z getting hot in March would be nice. Put the big men in more often. Baseball is going to be fun. Totally agree. Backflip Spaghetti said beat Bama. I hope so. We already beat them once. Let's do it again. So play of the game. We already got some folks giving their plays in the comments. I appreciate that. Rustin, I'm going to let you go first because I have a countdown of 4. So what was your play of the game?
I loved the play designed in the first half. They ran a horn set with Dalton and Jonas, and after Zakai used Dalton's ball screen, Dalton then came off a screen from Jonas, which, right there, Zakai has the option of I can either keep driving to the basket. If I keep driving, Jonas is going to trail, so he could get a tip dunk if I put one up on the rim and, it doesn't go. Or I can jump stop, kick it back out to Dalton for a wide open 3 if everybody collapses. Or if they play it straight up, I can drive all the way through and find Santi in the opposite corner for a wide open 3. I just love the play design. I thought it was genius basketball, put everybody in a bind. Even if they had called the foul, the play was still just beautiful, and the way it was executed was literally perfect. And it wouldn't have mattered who got the final shot because it was going to work no matter what was available. And honestly, I hope they run that set a whole lot more because I don't know with those 4 guys on the court at the same time, I don't know how you defend that set. It was almost unguardable. Somebody's going to be open. And whoever it is going to be lethal. So I love that play design, love the play call, thought it was the dagger. Thought it sent us into the locker room with a lot of confidence. And my goodness, the second half was just a butt kicking.
So here's my top 4 plays of the game. Because I saw the first one, and it ended up being my play of the game. But then the next 3 happened, and I was like, oh man, I got to mention those. So actually, I'm going to do top 5 because there was another one that was pretty good too. So number 5 was the Dalton Connect backdoor cut down the baseline. Zakai made a bounce pass to him for the slam. That was pretty sweet. Number 4 was the Cameron Carr dunk at the end of the game. The only reason that made it was because he had 1 step. That was it.
He can elevate.
I mean, like, it was like, whoa, where did that come from? I mean, it's kind of a weak bounce pass, bounced twice to him. Somehow it made it through there. I'm not totally sure how that happened, but he picks it up off the second bounce, 1 step, and throws it down with like almost a windmill style dunk, tomahawk dunk. That was very impressive. He didn't have time to, get. I've never been known to be a massive dunker in my life. I can't jump very well, but that was super impressive. I mean, immediately he gets it as he's going up off 1 foot, 1 step, and throws it down. I mean, that was really impressive. He got up off the court quick. That number 3 was Dalton bringing the ball up the court. And part of it was the dude tries to go for a steal. Dalton does a spin move, gets around him, then takes 1 dribble and throws an alley-oop to Jonas. That was really, really pretty. Really, really pretty. And what's amazing is any other game, that probably would have been the play of the game.
Yeah.
But not last night. So then number 2 was Zakai's steal and up and under reverse layup. That was awesome. Just the level of effort. I mean, they're up by like 20 something points at that point, and he's still playing that hard of defense. And so he makes intercepts the pass, takes it down, up and under, beautiful reverse layup. That was my number 2. But my number 1 was Tennessee moves the ball around the perimeter. Jonas slides up just short of the elbow. They pass it to him. He faces up to the basket. And there's 4 dudes, but none of them are in between him and the basket. They're kind of on either side of the lane. And with authority, takes it to the rim and slams it. I mean, just slams it. I mean, that was the thing that when he did, I went, woo! And then tonight they released the video of Bert's call on that one, and Bert did the same thing. He goes, woo! And he goes, talk to me, Jonas. That was my play of the game because it was the aggression and authority with which he attacked the basket and then just threw it down. If he's that aggressive and that physical, man, look out SEC, and look out NCAA tournament because that's a game changer right there. Let's see what other folks are saying as their play of the game. Tony said his play. Welcome, Tony. Good to have you, buddy. He said my play of the game was Vescovy 3-pointer in the first half. Plus he was fouled. He sure was fouled. And unfortunately, that didn't get called. But, like he said, Asante 3 at the end of the first half. Absolutely. Let's see what else we got. Braden said, my favorite play of the game was probably connect spin move into a 3. Yep. Let's see here. Zach said, when they go 4-0 over the next 4 games, Rustin will do a backflip while eating a habanero pepper. Maybe he's been like bro because we're the Vol Bros. Braden said it just shows how versatile a shooter he is. I agree. Absolutely. The pass by Zakai to Vescovy to hit the money shot 3. Yep. Let's see. Backflip spaghetti said Zakai steal and up and under reverse layup.
That was crazy impressive for a lot of reasons. That the pass he jumped, number 1, he sized that thing up for a while. Like he baited them into that pass, but then there were 2 guys between him and the basket. And somehow he beat them to the basket. And then from that bizarre angle made an up and under move that honestly, when he pumped on one side and started to go the other, I was like, uh-oh, I don't know how he got from that angle. I don't know how he got his body across to be able to even make that, make that layup. That was crazy impressive.
Yeah, that was exactly my thought as well. When he went over to the other side of the rim, I was like, oh, well, there goes that. And then he made it. And I was like, oh, okay. Hey, did you see the little like emote thing that happened when you did the thumbs up like motion? Did you see that just then?
Yeah,
I wonder if they'll do it if I do it.
It's some kind of update on my. It's some kind of update on my Mac, and I can't get it to turn off.
Well, hey, it's cool, man. It reminds people to like the thing. So yeah, just like Rustin just said, everybody liked the deal. Like this the live stream. That'd be awesome. We appreciate it. JL, welcome, JL. Good to have you, buddy. He said, not to play the game really, but that car dunk was nice. It sure was, man. It was impressive how quick he got off the floor. Let's see. Zach said, I know we're on basketball, but Kiki Malloy holds the record for home runs. Absolutely. She does 58, which is crazy, man. I mean, that's incredible. Braden said, sorry, I meant the spin move alley-oop. Yep, I knew what you meant, man. Absolutely. Tony said, Auburn and Kentucky have the easiest schedule of the top 4 teams remaining. If we go 2-2, that would be good. 3-1 would be great. I agree totally. Totally agree. Hey, Backflip Spaghetti had some good advice. He said, hit that like button. I like that. It's a good piece of advice for everybody. Let's see. Zakai or Zach said, did he make it? I thought Adu put it in after Zakai missed it. So that was in the first half. Zakai got a steal, went down and missed a finger roll at the rim, and Jemai Mashak put it back in the first half. But in the second half, Zakai went up and under and made it, which, like Rustin said, I still don't know how he did that, but he did it. It was impressive. Daniel said, hey, yo, what's up, Daniel? Good to have you, buddy. Good to have you, man. Like you said, we listen to Bob and Bert during the games. Bert is hilarious. Money. Absolutely. Backflip Spaghetti said, when I'm assuming he's talking about Zakai. When Zakai's in his game, he frustrates teams. Absolutely, he does. You don't want to be the guy he's guarding on the other side of the court, and that's a good thing to have.
He did more than that last night. He owned that game on both sides of the floor. Like I said, I hope people realize how impressive what he did was. I mean, A&M's known for their backcourt. We're talking about Wade Taylor. Zakai dominated a game that, I mean, A&M hangs their hat on their 2 starting guards. Everything they do runs through those 2 guys. And Zakai dominated an entire game on both ends of the court against a team whose backcourt is supposed to be one of the best in the country.
Yep.
I mean, that was unbelievable.
Right to Vape said 9 points, 9 rebounds, 14 assists, 4 steals, 0 turnovers. Intimidated them all game. Absolutely. Braden said the Vols truly have the best head coaches overall as far as football, basketball, and baseball. Everything's cool. Absolutely. Everything's cool. 100%. He said the GOAT head coaching trio. I totally agree. It's a solid group. So in the comments earlier, I starred one from Sandris. Hey, Randy, how about that, man? Randy said, listening in from the Dominican Republic. Go Vols. Absolutely, Randy. Hey, it's good to have you with us. We're glad you're listening. That's awesome. That is really, really cool. Randy's a good friend. He is the reason we got to go to the South Carolina football game this year. So Randy's doing the Lord's work, literally the Lord's work down there in the Dominican right now.
Yep.
So Randy, we appreciate you, man. That's awesome. Zach said, so when Connect took that foul, I think Rick showed everyone who's in charge. That was interesting. He mentioned charge, and it made me think. So Tennessee had 2 charge calls in the first half, and rightfully so. They're both charges. Josiah took a fantastic charge in the second half, and they called it a block. I mean, like, it was perfect. He stood there, just let him hit and run over him, and he hurt him too. You could tell, they elbowed him right in the chest. and they call it a block. And Rick he did a great job. He just looked at the ref and said, "What was different?" I mean, like seriously, what was different? He stayed calm. It was good. Um, Papa J, speaking of Texas A&M's backcourt, he said, "Who scores 9 points in the first few minutes and then only 2 the rest of the game?" So here would be my response to that. I think that is Jemai Mashak and Zakai Ziegler and partly Santiago Vescovi
Yeah.
saying, "Okay, no more."
Yeah. I thought Santi had one of his best defensive games of the year. He did a fantastic job. The other thing that Tennessee did this time that they didn't do last time was anytime that A&M tried to set a ball screen with a big, Tennessee just ignored A&M's bigs. And Tobey or Jonas would step out and hedge really hard and force A&M's guards away from the basket so that our guards had time to get behind the screen. We didn't do that the first time we played them. And I think our coaches realized A&M's bigs aren't anything to worry about. And so they just basically said, if y'all are going to beat us, you're going to beat us with those guys. We're not going to let your guards win. And it was a good adjustment, worked all night. Definitely frustrated Wade Taylor. He didn't really do much after those first 3 threes. And, all 3 of those came in transition. None of those came off of screens. So, they did a
that
good
third
job.
one.
Well, that third one was from the parking lot.
Yeah, that was crazy impressive.
Yeah.
He just pulled up he just pulled up and just drained it. I mean, it was amazing.
But they finally did a good job of finding him in transition and not letting him get those looks. And then he had to rely on those ball screens, and we had those defended. So it pretty much shut down every option he had.
Like you said, go Vols, absolutely. Zach said, "Welcome, Randy." Tennessee, let's see. Braden said Tennessee has the option to play big or small this year, which is very important to keep them on their toes. Absolutely, we see that. That's what's really crazy about the baseball team right now is they can switch their lineup up and go just all power or go. I mean, it's really impressive.
I'm sure we'll get to them in a second, but holy cow. Kudos to Tony Vitello. I mean, I was a college baseball player. I know the egos of college baseball players. Trying to convince them to platoon when they're like, I'm Cannon Peebles. I don't platoon. I don't take a back seat to anybody.
Yeah, for real.
And they all seem to be good with it. I mean, we've got really, really good players that are only playing every other day right now, which once we get to conference play, we're all going to be fresh. That's for sure. I mean, nobody's going to be tired or run down.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be interesting to see if they can continue to keep all these guys happy because I've never seen a team put so many different lineups on a field.
Yeah. Well, and specifically you mentioned Cannon Peebles. I mean, the dude's going to be an MLB draft pick next year.
But even Dalton Bargo. Dalton Bargo is tearing the cover off the ball, and he's only playing 1 every 3 games.
Yeah. He was like, what, 2 for 3 Saturday, something like that?
Almost every game that he's gotten in, he's had at least 2 hits. Yeah. I just saw a stat a second ago. Robin Villeneuve right now has an on-base percentage of .737. He's getting on base 3 out of every 4 at-bats, but he's only playing every other day. And, how long can you keep doing that before it's like, this guy's got to be in the lineup every day? They have a wealth of riches.
Okay, so if we had to play the game for baseball from today, it would have been his home run. He hit it so high that the tracker thing couldn't track it anymore.
Yeah,
that cracked me up. That was hilarious. Backflip Spaghetti said, "Good night, y'all. Hey, glad you're with us, buddy. Glad you're with us. Have a great evening." Right to Vape said, "Going to be a total different game on Wednesday when they play Auburn as far as how to defend." Yeah. We've been talking about Tennessee's depth in basketball. Well, the only team deeper than them in the SEC is coming to town next Wednesday, and that's Auburn. So they are the deepest team maybe in the country, and that's going to be a 95 to 90 something game right there. I'm sure, which means Tennessee has to be shooting the ball well. Let's see. Braden said, "I like the baseball team to be able to switch the lineup around and keeping all those freshman kids around in the ball And the transfers is insane to me, especially considering NIL and the transfer portal. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that was a very impressive thing. He said, great job by Tony V. Absolutely. Jeff asked a really good question. Welcome, Jeff. Good to have you. He said, is a shortstop that got hit in the head okay? That's a really good question.
Tony Vitello said after the game that they, anytime you get a shot to the head, they have to pull them for concussion testing. They can't, do the testing right there like they would in football, then put them back in. They've got to take them completely out and go in the hallway and do it. He passed all the concussion tests. He was totally fine. Tony Vitello said that he probably will play on Tuesday. He said the only reason he wouldn't is if he develops, some kind of symptoms between now and then. But as far as they're concerned, he's good to go.
Well, and Tony also said that if he doesn't play, it'll be because Tony's decided to rest him a day. And so he said it would be my decision if he doesn't play, which I don't think he'll play. But
I tell you, he's lucky because they clocked it at 88. I got hit in the helmet in college and they clocked it at 87. I don't remember the rest of that game. I have no idea what happened. I don't know if we won, lost, tied. No clue. I woke up the next morning and forgot we'd even played a game. So 88 to the helmet does not feel good.
I don't think he's going to play. I think they'll have one of their 17 different middle infielders.
I mean, look at what happened when he came out. They just moved Christian Moore to short and put in Brad Laurie, and Brad Laurie had a career day the rest of the game. I mean, it's like, just pick your poison. Who do you want to beat you now?
And they still got that other kid that hadn't even played yet, who won the job. And what's his name? It starts with A.
Ariel Antigua. He won the job and got injured in practice and hasn't been on the field yet. They're still holding him out doing rehab. And, there wasn't going to be a platoon. He won the job outright. All the rest of these guys were going to take a back seat. When you watch Dean Curley play and you watch the defensive skills, the arm strength, the bat, it's like, holy crap, how good was Ariel Antigua?
Yeah, exactly. It's a plethora of riches. It's just amazing. Vols time. Welcome, Vols time. He said, what's the chance of the Vols winning the SEC, I'm assuming, basketball tournament? So this is a really interesting question. And I don't think people are going to like my answer. I'm going to answer first, and then you can give your answer. But I've kind of mentioned this before on here. What are their chances? Excellent. Can they do it? Absolutely. Do I think it's important as important as the regular season one? No, I don't. Because I don't think the SEC championship game matters at all. Unless it is for like a team like Texas A&M, who at this point probably have to win the SEC tournament to make it into the NCAA tournament. But for a team like Tennessee, the SEC tournament championship game doesn't matter. Now, I know for them it does, because you want to say like, yeah, we won the regular and the, tournament championships. I get that, regular season and tournament. I get that. But once again, I've said it before, I'll say it probably 8 more times until they finally change it. As long as that game is still Sunday afternoon, it won't matter for tournament seeding. It just won't, because we saw that happen 2 years ago. The selection committee, they already they've made up their minds by that point. The only thing that would make any difference is if it's a team like Texas A&M who has to win to get in. And they have like a backup plan in case that were to happen, because there's only 2 games on that Saturday or Sunday now. It's the Big Ten tournament championship and the SEC tournament championship. That's it. And so all the other conferences have already recognized the fact that, hey, they don't care about the tournament championship game anymore because they've already got the stuff lined up. We need to have our tournament championship games on Saturday so that they're actually watching them and it's impacting how our teams get seeded. Because if you have a team who's kind of like is it a 2 or a 3 seed kind of thing, and then they win the tournament championship, they're going to be a 2 seed. But that's not going to change anything if the game's on Sunday and it finishes less than 2 hours before the tournament brackets revealed. They've already sent it to the television networks by that point and said, "Here's who we got going," so that the television networks can get all their graphics made. You want to know who knows before anybody else? The dudes in the graphic design department at CBS. They're the people who know. They're the people who know the tournament before literally the people announcing it on air, because they're the ones who made the graphics. So until they move that tournament championship game to Saturday, it doesn't matter. All you got to do is just make it to the semifinals on Saturday, have a good showing there, and then you're okay. So that would be my answer. What do you think about what's the chances of the Vols winning the SEC tournament?
I don't like our draw. Number one, if the tournament started today, we'd probably have Texas A&M again in the opener, and then if we win that, we play Auburn most likely. I really don't like playing Bruce in a game where, number one, they have a deeper bench than anybody in the conference. Number two, we're pretty much guaranteed a 1 or 2 seed at that point. Auburn still has something to play for. Like they're trying to improve their seeding. They're trying to bump up into, maybe a 3 line. So they've got a lot more to play for. And, people don't like to hear this, but I said something similar to what you said last year. There is such a thing as rest. And
yeah, for sure.
And the reality is the SEC tournament doesn't matter at all in college basketball. The NCAA tournament's what matters. The SEC tournament doesn't. And so it wouldn't hurt my feelings if we lost one of those games and got to go home early and rest bodies up and get in the training room and rehab and get people ready to go for the tournament that really counts.
And if anybody who's listening is like, I can't believe that, they're, okay, look at what the baseball team did last year. The baseball team lost early in the SEC tournament, and they ended up in the Final Four or whatever, Final Six, whatever, in Omaha. So
yeah,
I mean,
I think I told this. I think I gave this example last year about this time when we were talking about this too. But when I was in college, I played in a conference with one of the best programs in the country, and every year they were top 5 nationally, and they were always guaranteed a huge seed in the national tournament. And so when they would always win the conference regular season because they were hands down the best program in the conference. And then we get to the conference tournament and they would intentionally throw the first 2 games so they could go home early every year. Like we used to joke about, why do they even pay the money for the hotels? Like, why not just stay home and forfeit? But they would show up and intentionally throw the first 2 games so they could go home early and rehab for the national tournament.
Let's see here. Right to Vape said the SEC tournament is not as good as winning regular season. I agree with that. Braden said, I'm going to go finish my homework, go to bed, listen to the rest of the stream tomorrow on the way to school and on the way home from baseball. Sounds good, Braden. Have a great evening, man. Tony said, I know this is a different year, but Bruce Pearl's 7-2 against Barnes. This concerns me. Yeah, I totally agree. They have the deepest team in the country. That's concerned me 100%. Zach said, well, it's for pride. I don't want Bama or Kentucky to win. I get that. And that's the thing. They're competitors. They want to win too. But
I tell you, Bama and Kentucky aren't the 2 I'd be concerned about in a weekend tournament. Auburn's the team you should be concerned about in a weekend tournament because they will have fresh legs every game. They have so many guys they play. Nobody plays more than 20 minutes on their entire roster. They'll go out there and sprint up and down, turn every single game into a track meet, and they'll win every game in the second half because everybody else will wear down from just the wear and tear of playing that many games in that many days.
Well, okay, so you got Zakai playing 35 or more minutes every game.
Yep.
I mean, that's almost twice as much as the most minutes for anybody on Auburn's team.
Yeah, I would much rather Zakai was back at Thompson Bowling sitting in a cold tub preparing for the next weekend.
Let's see. Zach said about baseball, it was good to see Kirby out there. He's like another coach for Tennessee. I agree with that. And he did make his season debut today, so that was exciting. He faced one batter and he got him out. So that was good. There was a stretch today where Tennessee retired like 17 or 18 straight hitters. Like, that was crazy.
How long do you
it
think it'll be before Nate Snead's the Sunday starter?
That's a good question.
That dude's electric.
Yeah. So, what were
There
your
was
general thoughts about the weekend for Tennessee baseball this weekend?
Well, like I said, they're just so deep. I mean, it's freakish that they can go from lineups that have Blake Burke hitting 7th all the way to 2nd, depending on what day of the week it is and who's pitching and who's in left field. And Dylan Dreiling might be one of the best hitters on the entire team, and he didn't even play. Like, they just let him take the day off today. Nate Snead, holy cow! There was a 3-pitch sequence today where he threw fastball at 97, changeup at 87, then a slider at 91. And it was like, okay, that's not human being stuff. Like, normal people can't do that. That's just, and all of them were hitting spots. And he's just, man, I don't know how in the world Xander Sechrist is going to hold on to that third starter job.
Yeah, I don't think he will either.
Just the eye test. I mean, Nate Snead is imposing. Albany, when Nate Snead got on the mound today, Albany had to be in the dugout going, "What the heck? We've never seen anything that looks like this before." It's just, again, wealth of riches. What they would love to do is Friday be AJ Russell then AJ Causey. Like, they've made it very clear that's what they want to do on Friday. They want Drew Beam to go as long as humanly possible on Saturday, and then just use up the rest of the bullpen behind him. And man, if they can get Nate Snead going on Sunday, and then even Xander Sechrist, throw Nate Snead 98 to 101 for 5 innings, then bring in Xander at 85 behind him. Then
With
go
a big looping curveball.
Yeah. Then go Marcus Phillips back up in the mid 90s with a hard slider, then close it off with Kirby Cannell. Who in the world's going to touch that? Although I will say Kirby touched 90 today. First time in Tennessee history or Tennessee career. He touched 90 for the first time ever.
He hit the weight room in the off season.
Could have been a gun malfunction, but we're going to call it what it was. So it's, I think Nate Snead's the X factor. I think he's the guy that's going to push us deep in the postseason. But my goodness, if the pitchers can just do a decent job, so many bats. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Absolutely. That's the thing. I mean, the thing that concerned everybody at the beginning of the season last year was base running errors and defensive errors. There was way too many of them both. I mean, like, we're making major base running mistakes. Too many. I mean, like, you think about, I think it was against LSU that there's a high fly ball in the middle of the infield, and 4 guys watched it land right in the middle of them. So, we haven't seen anything like that. In fact, we've seen quite the opposite. We've seen tremendous plays, especially around the infield. And so, and in the outfield. I mean,
yeah,
Reese Chapman made that incredible catch the other night. I mean, like, it's been very, very impressive. And then, like you say, is there another team, honestly, in the whole country that is as deep hitting as Tennessee? I mean, like, it's unreal, the amount of skill and bats they have back there. And we saw that this weekend. So it'll be fun to watch them moving forward, that's for sure. I'm excited to watch them. Some of the comments came in. Rusty and Sanders, I'm so sorry. I've still got your question. We're gonna talk about that because that's a good question. Jeff said Snead looked awesome. Absolutely. Tony said Tony V has 6 or 7 good outfielders. Only 3 can play at a time. Going to be tough to get him enough playing time. I totally agree. I mean, Hunter Inslee didn't even play the last 2 games. So I mean, like, there's a lot of folks in that dugout who can play.
They got him a pinch hit at the end of the game today. He got one at bat.
Oh, they did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's see. Sam said, as crazy as this sounds, I think Auburn at Thompson Bowling might be the easiest game we have left on our schedule. And So I
I'm gonna
mean,
have
I
to
get that
agree to disagree there.
you
I
got to
don't
go to
I don't
Alabama.
yeah, I think at Alabama is the toughest game, but, um,
You got to go
I
to
think
South Carolina.
South Carolina's kinda reeling a little bit right now. They're not playing as
Yeah,
well as they were a month ago. Um,
and
I
Kentucky at
hate
home.
I hate the matchup against Auburn. I think they match up with us really, really well at every position. Um, that one's gonna be a fist fight.
Tony said AJ Russell may be out for a while. He came out of the game because of soreness. That was the words that was used. So hopefully he heals quickly because they need him. Dude has been phenomenal so far.
I believe it was rib soreness, wasn't it? Wasn't it his side?
I don't remember. They just said soreness. They said it wasn't his elbow or his shoulder. They said
Yeah.
that.
Which, I mean, honestly, if it's just rib soreness, that won't be long. They'll rehab him. They may hold him out this upcoming week just to be careful, but I'd fully expect to see him within 10 days.
Let's see. Zach, whose beard and hair do you want? No, that was a weird question. If you're tuning in just now, that was probably a weird moment to tune in and hear. But you got to let us know, Zach. Who are you talking about there? Elijah said, "Hey, Elijah, welcome, buddy. Good to have you." He said, "I almost got the score prediction correct. I said 85-60. That's right. You're exactly right. You almost got it." Rusty said, "Got to win those 2 home games and at least split the 2 away ones." Agreed. So let's go back to Sanders's question, and then we're going to look at Rusty's question about the NCAA, and then I've got one other thing to mention that came up a couple shows ago. So Sanders asked, "How do you guys feel about the Duke Center getting hurt from fans on the court?" Do you want to go first? You want me to?
You can.
So here's the thing. First of all, kudos to Wake Forest for going undefeated at home this year. That's impressive. They rushed the court. There were still a lot of players on the court, a whole lot. I will say this, probably the worst take of all the takes I've seen so far on this incident came from somebody who was saying they were down by 4 with 2.4 seconds left. The game was over. They shouldn't have even put a person on that side of the court to try to score. Okay, that's the dumbest take I've ever heard in my life. We've been talking on this show all night about how Santi should have had an and one at the end of the first half. Okay, if you're down by 4, it's technically still a 1 possession game. If you take a 3, get fouled, and make the shot, it's tied. So the game was not over. So that blew my mind when I read that on Twitter. I was like, what are you even talking about? Did Filipowski initiate contact? Yes, he did. That overhead angle shows that for sure. He initiated contact. And of the 2 of them, that other poor dude took the worst of it. That dude went like flying and like rolling across the court. But the thing is, unlike what happened with Caitlin Clark, who really flopped, actually, Filipowski, yeah, he initiated contact, but that other dude's knee and Filipowski's knee just slammed into each other. There, immediately following the game, John Shire thought it was his ankle because he hadn't seen or he hadn't heard what had happened yet. He just saw his player getting, stampeded. The funniest take I saw was somebody that was like the side angle that had the whole court, and it showed Filipowski trying to walk across and then just getting like overrun by all these people. And somebody said it's like that scene with Mufasa in The Lion King. But here's the deal. Here's the thing. We've now seen 3 different times in the last 18 months, the Tennessee Alabama football game with Jermaine Burton, the deal with Caitlin Clark, and now the deal with Filipowski. And all 3 times, someone ended up getting hurt. I do think it's interesting that the ACC is the only conference in America that does not have a fine for storming the court. And so people were like, why was John Shire after the game saying, when are we going to ban storming the court? And everybody's like, they already did that. No, they didn't. Not in the ACC. But I also get the other flip side of that. That's what makes college sports special. Being there to be able to, live that moment with your friends and be on the field or the court at that time. It's a special thing. But unfortunately, I do think it's a dangerous thing. And so, as we saw with Jermaine Burton, it was dangerous for the fan because he just punched that girl right in the face. And how in the world no one's still, at Alabama come out and spoken out against that, I have no idea, because it's blatantly obvious what he did. Because here's the reality of the situation. Filipowski is obviously a huge factor, a huge part of what Duke does on their team, both offensively and defensively. If he's legit hurt, because the dude, his knee was slammed into the side of his knee. Like, there's no denying that. Did he shove the person? Yes, he did. But the knee part, he was just walking and their knees just collided. If he's out for like a month, that means he's not coming back until maybe the second weekend of March Madness. That's a huge blow if he's out. We don't know. He might end up being totally fine. But I know they were legit concerned as far as because his knee was hurt after it. So do I have a solution? No. Because it is one of the special things in college athletics of rushing the court or rushing the field with your friends and celebrating with the team. But at the same time, at some point, safety, not only for the players, but for the fans, does have to become an issue. And so, no joke, that one fan, and then, the other dude shoved him, barely pushed him from behind. But those fans, that they legit could impact what happens in March Madness if he's legitimately hurt now. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of that as far as the extent of his injury. So there was my long answer. What's your answer?
Well, just my opinion. I thought John Shire was a little hypocritical, sitting there condemning court storming when he played and coaches at Duke. Why does the ACC not have a field or court storming policy? That would be Duke, Carolina. That's why. How many Duke, Carolina games have ended with a court storming? Hundreds. So his own school is the reason that ACC doesn't have a court storming policy. So I felt like it was a little hypocritical for him to sit there and condemn it in front of a camera, because he's the culprit. It's a shame he got hurt. It's a shame it happened. At the same time, I've watched that video a couple of times now. I don't really see any other Duke players on the court. They're all pretty much at the periphery, which told me that Filipowski took his sweet time getting off the court. So he kind of invited it. So, I understand he was on one side and he was trying to get to the other, but he wasn't making a whole lot of effort to get to the other. He was taking his sweet time. So, I think he was looking for something. I think he had a little anger and he was looking for somebody to take it out on, because the first person he definitely went after. They didn't go after him. So,
right.
A little bit of, I think he brought on himself. It's a shame. Again, he's a 20-year-old kid. 20-year-old kids make dumb decisions. It's a shame that he got caught up in that situation. But the reality is, all these people are like, oh, you got to put a bigger fine on it. You've got to have more security. They ain't going to stop it. There's not enough security guards in the world to stop that. No gym can hire enough people to line the entire periphery of the court and make a human barricade and keep those kids from doing it. And the people who are like, "Oh, we got to increase the fine. 100,000 isn't enough, or 200,000 isn't enough." We're talking about a multi-million-dollar industry. $100,000 is a $10 bill to these people. They don't care. We had donors after Tennessee beat Bama. We had donors saying publicly, "I'll pay the field storming fine. Let them have fun." It's not going to stop,
Right.
So it is what it is. It's never going to change, and it's not something everybody's getting on their high horse and trying to act like it's some catastrophe. The reality is they need to look real closely at the video and go, was it a catastrophe, or did he kind of invite it? Hate that he got hurt, but he also wasn't doing his best to get off the court. So I'll leave it at that.
So Elijah said basically the same thing. He said he should have known they were going to storm the court. He took a sweet time getting off. Not sure what he expected. Right to Vape said, "You take storming the court away, you might as well move all student sessions to the mid ring of the gym."
Correct.
Rusty said, "Watch a ban happen only because it's Duke."
Won't happen.
Elijah said, "But at the same time, it's sad that something like that can happen and potentially, alter the remainder of the season for them."
Do you know? I mean, for anybody who's watching, if you've ever been in Cameron Indoor Stadium, the student section are literally platform risers. There are no seats, so that there's nothing in the way for when they storm the court. I mean, it's lunacy that John Shire is sitting there saying that this has to be outlawed, it has to be stopped, and his own gym removed the obstacles from people being able to come on the floor. They are as close to the court as you can possibly get, and there are no seats. I have no sympathy.
Zach said that storming the court's the whole fun of winning big games. Yeah, I totally agree. Right to Vape said student sections are special as part of UTs in 2001 to 2004. Tony mentioned Lady Vols thing, so we'll come back to that. Zach said, "I would tell you what I think ACC stands for, but I won't." But you did say Duke Carolina is the best rivalry in college basketball, 100%. That's hard to argue against. Absolutely. Right to Vape said, "I hope he's fine, but he's got to move his tail off the court." I get that. So Tony mentioned, "I know it's not discussed much, but Kelly Harper needs to go and not hire a former player to coach. Just my opinion." Somebody asked us on a I think it was 2 episodes ago. After we were finished being live, they commented and said, "Is Kelly on the hot seat?" And I said, if they miss, this was my answer. I said, if Tennessee Lady Vols miss the NCAA tournament, then yes, she is squarely on the hot seat for next year, because that doesn't happen. The Lady Vols don't miss the tournament.
And barring a huge turnaround in the SEC tournament, it's about to happen.
Right, exactly. So I think if that happens, then yeah, next season could be it for her if things don't change. And unfortunately for her, Rakia ain't gonna be around next season. So stuff. I totally get that. Elijah said Duke Carolina may be the best sports or best rivalry in all sports. I mean, that's makes a strong argument for it. Separated by 8 miles and a shade of blue. Let's see. Right to Vape said, "I think Kelly gets this year and one more partial year, if not good." Yep, I think that's fair. Elijah said, Tony's right. We had chances to beat South Carolina and LSU in the fourth, but lose both by double digits. It's coaching, not players. Sam said the Lady Vols.
I'll actually go a different angle on that. I think it is coaching, but not for the reason they're saying, because it is players. We don't have athletes. We have bangers. And LSU, why did LSU win? It wasn't their post game. It was Haley Van Lith. We didn't have a guard that could guard her. Why does South Carolina beat us? We can't guard their guards. It's a complete lack of athleticism. And I said this a month ago. Kelly is still trying to play Pat Summitt basketball, and that doesn't win anymore. The game has changed, and she gets them to play crazy hard. You can't doubt their effort. They play as hard as they possibly can, but they're just 2 steps too slow. They can't compete. They can't keep up. And they're going to have to either, I think the only way Kelly gets to come back next year is if Danny White sits her down and says, you got to overhaul it. You got to come up with you got to go hire another assistant coach who understands today's game and is going to, find a way to change how this offense and defense runs. But you can't keep playing bully ball. It's just doesn't work anymore.
Jeff said they have no team speed. Tony said, loved watching Kelly as a player, but her team is hard to watch.
Yep.
Sam said, Pat Summitt always said, you don't bring mules to the Kentucky Derby. They need better talent. Zach said, Rustin, you said South Carolina would beat us by 100, but we did better.
Yeah, they played horrible that night and still beat us by double figures. It was South Carolina's worst game of the season, and they still beat us by double figures. And I guarantee you, when we play them next week, it's going to be ugly.
Tony said Pat Summitt had athletes. That 98 team arguably may be the best women's college basketball team in the history of women's college basketball. That was a special team.
But somebody mentioned they had athletes that attacked the basket and they played around the basket, and they would lay up and free throw you to death because they would just pound on you inside. And that's just not where the game is anymore.
Somebody mentioned, or Jeff said they also turned the ball over way too much. Somebody mentioned earlier about the NCAA enforcement staff. So that has happened since the last time we were live. Tennessee won the injunction. No surprise, honestly, I don't think, from either one of us. Both of us, when we've been asked about that, both of us previously said the NCAA has nothing to stand on. Listen, the president of the organization cannot go on national television and say there are no rules about NIL right now, and then try to enforce rules that he just admitted there weren't even in existence. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like, they had no leg to stand on. It had no chance of winning.
And the irony is,
in Virginia.
And the irony is the injunction just threw out all the rules. So literally there are no rules right now.
I mean, should there be? Yeah, probably some. But you can't go back and retroactively apply new rules that you just made, which is what the NCAA was trying to do.
Yep.
So that had no chance to stand on. One last thing before we finish, because somebody mentioned this I think it was like maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago. It must have been 1. But they asked us about the new college football playoff format. And at that time, I had not heard about the new playoff format. So I went and researched it. So I'm going to read to you the brand new format, which really is no different from what it previously was. But this was voted on 6 days ago by the College Football Playoff Committee. This was on their website. So this is official. This is for real. I'm just going to read it to you word for word. The College Football Playoff Board of Managers unanimously revised the qualifying criteria for the 12-team event to now include the 5 highest-ranked conference champions plus the next 7 highest-ranked teams as determined by the playoff selection committee. So essentially nothing changed.
Well,
because
previously
it was the Power 5 conferences get the conference champion gets an automatic bid. And then the highest ranked group of 5 champion, or the highest ranked group of 5 team, got an automatic bid as well. Well, so now there's only 4 power conferences. And so you have the 5 highest ranked conference champions. So it'll be the 4 Power 4 conference champions get automatic bids.
But is it? Because that's not the way it reads. It's 5 highest ranked conference champions.
Right.
So let's say the Big 12 champion was ranked 23rd and the American Athletic Conference champ was ranked 22nd and the Ohio Valley Conference champ was ranked 19th. The Big 12 conference champ didn't get in. Like, you could have 2 group of 5 conference champions, because it doesn't. There's those stupid balloons.
What in the world?
So I told you it would do that. It did that. I was on a conference call. I was on a business conference call a month and a half ago, and that happened in the middle of it. And we couldn't figure out how in the world it happened. But there's some hand gesture you can make to make balloons fly up all over the place.
You did 2, and balloons came up.
That's the first time it's happened in literally a month and a half. But the way it reads is the top 5 ranked conference champions. It doesn't say what those conferences are. So if the SEC, ACC, and Big Ten conference champions are in, let's say they're all in the top 10, and the OVC champ is number 14, and the Missouri Valley champ is number 19, the Big 12 champ may not get in because 2 group of 5s might get in.
So
what they essentially just did is they said, we don't care about Power 5. Power 5 doesn't matter. We're just going to say 5 highest rate conference champs.
So essentially the only way that would end up happening, though, I mean, in theory, the teams making it to the conference championship games are going to probably be in those Power 4 games are probably going to be in the top 15. So maybe. The only way that would impact anything is if, like, Iowa this last year, if Iowa had beaten Michigan, Iowa would have been, what were they ranked, like 16th at the time or 17th? So in that situation, I mean, it's probably not going to make I get what you're saying. It could, theoretically, it could. Sean said the double thumbs up is fireworks. You got to try it, Rustin.
No,
give us a double thumbs up.
No thanks.
I want to see it now. Like, I'm curious. Dude, look at that. A whole new world. I want to know why mine won't do it. Like, what's up? Like, what do I have not activated on my MacBook that won't do that? So that's hilarious.
So think about this. 2 years ago, Tulane was in the top 15 pretty much all season. If this had been in place then, and Liberty was like 12-0, both of those are group of 5 conference champions that would have gotten in ahead of, like, the Big 12 champ. Like, this can happen.
Yeah. I'm trying to think this last year that the 5 highest ranked conference champions.
This past year, the Power 5s would have all gotten in because Liberty was the highest non-group of 5 conference champion. But it is possible that the wording matters. Like, they basically just took the power away from the Power 5.
Yeah. Well, and they definitely put the power more into the playoff committee's hands because every single ranking really matters now. I mean, like, in a big way.
And really, it's now a Power 4. And honestly, I think the NCAA knew what they were doing when they wrote that the way it's written. I think they knew the ACC was on borrowed time.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go down that road for a minute. Let's say the ACC is no more in 2025. And so the fall 2025 rolls around, and there's really only 3 power conferences: the Big 12, the SEC, and the AC, and the Big 10. And many of the ACC teams are now in those 3 conferences. If these rules don't change again, then you have 3 essentially automatic qualifiers from those 3 big conferences.
Yep.
And then two tiny schools getting automatic bids instead of one getting an automatic bid. That's not good.
I think this was the committee's way of equity and fairness and kind of sticking it to the big boys of, you'll get as many people in as you want, but we're going to make it interesting. We're going to find a way to slip something in here. Yep. I think it has major ramifications, and I think there could come a day where this policy is what completely ends the Power Fives versus all the rest of the NCAA.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. I'm assuming it does not say this in this little article or whatever thing here, but I'm assuming that the 4 highest ranked conference champions, just like it previously was, would get first round buys. I'm assuming that rule stays the same.
They didn't spell that out either. I mean, I think it's going to be the 4 highest. The way the wording is, I think it's going to be the 4 highest ranked teams are going to get a first round bye, because they never spelled out that whole conference champ first round bye thing. And again, if 2 group of 5s get in, you're going to give a group of 5 a first round bye that's ranked number 16 nationally. I don't think that policy's in play anymore.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Let's see some of the comments that came through. Elijah said the new format doesn't change a whole lot from what it was. I still think 19 years out of 20 years, it'll be the 4, Power 4 conference champions. Well, as long as there's still 4 of them, and then one, group of 6 or whatever now. But I mean, crazy things could happen. I mean, there's no doubt. I do think this still, we had always talked about how that means that the top 12 ranked teams will not be in the playoff, because you'll have at least one that is like a group of 5 or now a group of 6 that gets an automatic bid because they're the highest ranked conference champion. Well, I think that even further cements that from happening. So if you want to be in the playoff, you really need to be in the top 10 just to guarantee your spot, because it's definitely the top 11 and lower. I mean, you really got to be in the top 10, honestly.
Yep.
Let's see. Rusty said, meanwhile, Memphis is starting to have guys pop for academic fraud. Got to keep giving the NCAA enforcement staff cases to work on.
Memphis is imploding. It is nuts. Every time you turn around, there's something else happening on that team.
So Right to Vape comes up with a pretty good solution here. This is interesting. Collective bargaining agreements are only in effect for a defined period of time. They address wages, hours, benefits, other conditions of employment. That's the only way to get all this fair. But let's ride Tennessee the high road a while while we're on the good end of it.
You don't want to open that box. I'm just telling you that's going to be the worst case scenario. You do not want collective bargaining in college athletics.
Let's see. Tony said, thank you all for sharing our comments and questions. It gives us a voice too. Thanks, guys. A lot of YouTubers won't do this, especially if they disagree. You guys are great. Hey, we appreciate that, Tony. Thank you so much, man. We love that. Hey, that's one of our favorite things is getting to hear y'all's opinions and thoughts too, because we learn a lot from you guys, and it's a lot of fun hearing everybody's opinions. I mean, even just tonight, we learned that you can do like this on Rustin's laptop and get cool fireworks behind it. Like, I didn't know you could do that. That was brand new to me. I'm still pumped up about that. That was cool, man. Like
Mino Likey in the comments just told me how to turn it off. So,
oh no, man. Oh, that's funny. I wish I knew how to do that, man. I'd do it. Let's see. People were loving the fireworks in the comments. I like that. Zach said it's a party. Jeff got a good live photo too. Let's see. Yeah, it does it again. I was afraid it'd only do it one time, and then it's like, all right, you got your time, now it's over. But it keeps doing it. That's awesome. That is really cool. If I had to do a power ranking of the emotes, the fireworks is easily number 1. The balloons was number 2,
I have no
And
idea how the balloons happened. I still no clue.
that was easy. That was number 2. That was a strong, man. That was a strong one. I didn't think the bullet fireworks could top it, but they did. And then the number 3 is the little hand that was the thumbs up like thing in the bubble. But the balloons pumped me up, man. I'm not joking. When I saw those, I was like, that's really cool. And then the fireworks, they just a game or no game on those, man. That was awesome how they came on there. It like makes the background dark so you can emphasize the firework. It's pretty incredible. Let's see.
Well, I just turned them off, so they're gone for good.
Oh man. Hey, if you were a part of this live stream tonight, you witnessed the one and only time in Volbro's history that you're going to see the fireworks behind Ruston. So this was a history in the making kind of evening. Elijah said, "Oh, it's not doing it. Oh, there they go. How about that, man? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That is awesome. There weren't as many balloons that time as there was the first time. What's up? I don't know. Maybe
they're getting tired. It's a helium shortage.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Oh man, that's good. Publix is like, no, we're not pumping up any more balloons. Elijah said that's how it should be. Top 4, no matter if they're conference champ or not, gets a bye. I think that's fair. Yeah, I think because let's be honest here. The SEC, you could have number 1 versus number 2. And if number 2 loses, now all of a sudden they're not going to get a bye, even though they've only lost 1 game potentially, and that's in the SEC championship. So, yeah, that's a fair point. Jeff said, and it's all based on the playoff committee's rankings, so they'll have the say they want. You're exactly right, man. You're exactly right, 100%. Elijah said, I love seeing Memphis falling apart. Zach said Tennessee would crush Memphis right now. Tony said, you need a nap, Evan. I agree. I was yawning, apparently. Daniel said collective bargaining would not be good for college football. Sam said, once we have collective bargaining agreements, we'll go back to under the table bonus from the state of Alabama. Mino Likey. So Mino Likey, she brought professionality, I guess, back to the professionalism, back to our lives. We appreciate that, Mino Likey. We appreciate it. But that was a fun little evening with Rustin stuff there.
It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun when it happened in the middle of a business meeting.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah. Like you said, gonna miss the fireworks. I agree. That's pretty good. Let's see. Elijah said, I've learned not to listen to Lenardi anymore. Tennessee was a 6th overall before that game last night, jumped up to 5th and dropped back down to 6th without any other games played. Ridiculous. Let's see.
It's got to be hard for him because he's just basically taking analytics and making guesses. And, the reality is, unless you're in that room with the committee, you have no idea what they're actually thinking.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to know in 2 weeks, though.
Yep.
Well, I guess 3. No, what is this? Yeah, we're at 3 weeks because we got conference tournament in there as well. Tony said, I'm from West Tennessee. I hate Memphis. Their basketball program not in a really healthy state right now. That's for sure. Well, this was a lot of fun, especially having Rustin's background emotes going. That was pretty awesome. I've learned something new tonight that I did not know before. And thanks to Mino Likey, we now know how to activate and deactivate them. So I would be curious to know if that is only on a PC or if that also applies to Mac users. So if you know that, let us know in the comments. I'd appreciate that. Elijah said, I saw somewhere he's ranked 98th out of 170 bracketologists. That's pretty good. Well, we hope everybody has a great evening. As far as this week coming up, the Lady Vol softball team, they don't play again until Friday. They have a doubleheader on Friday, Stetson and Brown University. Zach said, good night, Vol Bros. Thanks for the fun, Russ. Daniel said NIL can exist by itself. Collective bargaining only exists as long as the NIL players are happy. He said it's an offspring of socialism within college sports. So Lady Vols softball does not play till Friday. The basketball team, it's pretty easy to remember their schedule for the next 2 weeks because it's Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. So they don't have any more Tuesday games. They actually will not play on Tuesday for the rest of the whole year because they'll play Wednesday, Saturday, and then they're going to have a bye until the quarterfinals, which means they won't play it until that Friday. And so after that, then the NCAA tournament games are Tuesday through Sunday. So literally no more Tuesday games for the basketball team the rest of the whole season.
So the Lady Vol softball team is playing Stetson and Brown. Is that what you said?
That's correct, on Friday.
2 quality mascots in one day. The Brown University
Bears?
Brown Bears.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Their mascot is Bruno the bear. And he used to be a live bear until he tried to maul someone. And then they had to get rid of Bruno.
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah.
Yep. And the Stetson University.
Like Stetsons, isn't it? The hats. They're like, it's a hat.
The Hatters.
The Hatters. There we go. Yeah. Yeah.
2 quality mascots in one day.
That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong.
So if you leave the university out there, the Brown Bears.
I just said poor Bruno. That's pretty good. So, big week for Tennessee athletics. The baseball team plays High Point as their midweek game this week. And let's say I'll end the show by saying this. A lot of people were downplaying. Daniel said at least it wasn't an elephant trampling fans. A lot of people have downplayed the baseball team's weekend sweep of Albany, and they're like, well, it's Albany. Okay, well, go talk to South Carolina and go talk to Clemson about what that's like right now.
Mississippi State.
And Mississippi State. That's a good one. Yes, a good point. Because all 3 of those teams got beat, at least 2 of them rather handily by some, like Belmont beat South Carolina. Vanderbilt's lost 2 games.
Mississippi State lost to Austin Peay badly.
Yeah. And who was it that beat Clemson? Somebody beat Clemson like 18-6 or something like that. Like they just destroyed them. And it was some, not a huge powerhouse team. And Elijah's exactly right. Stony Brook beat LSU. That's who beat them. You're right. Absolutely.
And Georgia Southern took 2 from Mississippi State.
Yeah, Elijah. Thank you, Elijah. Gonzaga is who beat Vandy tonight, which Gonzaga's pretty good, but Vandy's lost 2 games. They should have beat Gonzaga. Elijah let us know it was Kennesaw State. Thank you. I appreciate that. Kennesaw State, who's beat Clemson. Ole Miss. Sam said Ole Miss has lost 3. Absolutely. Right to Vape said the baseball team is the best they have had, as deep and as talented. 100% agree. Easily 2022 and this team are easily Tony's best 2 teams that he's had. Yeah, I mean, we cannot discredit sweeping a team on a weekend, especially the way they did. They just obliterated them, especially Saturday and today. I mean, just obliterated them. There's a lot of teams right now who wish they could say that about their baseball teams, because some major SEC, powerhouses have lost to these much weaker teams. So, kudos to the baseball team for doing that. Elijah said 1 through 9, this is the most lethal hitting lineup in the country. It's hard to argue with that. And really, I mean, you can make the case that the next 5, 6, or 7 off the bench would continue.
More like that. 1 through 15.
Yeah. I mean, they're crazy deep, just crazy deep. And like many people have said this evening in the comments, it's going to be hard to keep all them happy. And I agree with that. Um, right to Vape said Albany will win half their games probably. Probably because in conference play, I mean, they're perennially pretty good in their conference. So, that's a good point. Well, this has been a lot of fun. We hope everybody has a great week. We will see all of you Thursday night. Thursday night is when we'll be live again, 9:00 Eastern. We hope you can join us for that. This is always so much fun. Let's see. Elijah said in Villeneuve, however you spell his name, is a dude. So much power. He is a dude. You're exactly right. Sean said, "Will our pitching be as good as 2022?"
It's deeper.
Okay, I agree with that. So that's what I was going to say. The horses at the front, maybe not quite as strong, but as far as depth goes, oh man, you could roll out 10 or 11 guys and really not lose much out of the bullpen. So I agree with that. It is much deeper than it was in 2022. That's a really good question. I like that question. Elijah said, "Peace out, Vol Bros. Hey, good to have you with us, Elijah. Glad you're here. Glad to have all of you with us. This is always so much fun for us, and we enjoy getting to interact with everybody. So I'm going to do the baseball outro since they had the weekend sweep. We'll honor them in that way. I'm sure they watched to find out what outro we're going to do. So hope everybody has a great evening, and go Vols, baby."